Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Christian Recorder Dialogues from the General Board. With me, I have today a dear, dear friend, as someone well known to the connection, the Reverend Anjanette Marie Tyson. Anjanette, welcome to the Christian Recorder Dialogues today.
Thank you, happy to be here.
Now, Anjanette is a former correctional officer. She served as first VP of the YPD under, was it Emil or was it
Emil.
Under Emil Washington? And you all probably also know her as the beloved daughter of presiding elder Albert Dillard Tyson III, who was the president of the Connectional Council of Presiding Elders and a well-known elder in the 4th Episcopal District, the North Chicago District, and the longtime pastor of Stevens A&E Chicago. Now, while our connection knows that we've seen Elder Tyson and Anjanette around for years, I did not know until she told me that this is the first general board that she has ever attended. So I'm like, you've been around the connection. You've gone to quadrennials, you've gone to general conference, your dad ran for bishop, your dad was a major connectional officer, and you ain't never been to the general board.
Never been to the general board.
How did that happen?
I think part of it has to do with the timing. So general board being in December and being in June, I just always had stuff going on. So you got, breaks from school and things like that. I'm in education. And so, you take those times and you've got other things happening. And so it just never was something that I came to. I was never on the general board. And so it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, my dad went to general board, but I didn't go to general board. So it's my first time.
Wow. And I remember one of the places where I met your dad first was general board. So let's talk about it. So as someone who knows the Connectional Church well, but has never been to the general board, what was your first impression showing up on the grounds?
I was surprised to see how few people were here. And I guess because my, scope is general conference, right? So I'm thinking this is an AME meeting. And even like leading up to it, I'm asking people, are you going to general board? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'm thinking that I was like the anomaly. I was the one person that didn't go to general board. Well, come to find out, I see most people don't come to general board. So just seeing the size of the room was very different than what to expect when you get to a general conference.
So let's talk about the atmosphere. So you see that there are fewer people here, but how has the energy been here in Orlando? How has the energy been?
I think the energy's been great. Everybody is so, happy to see one another. I think people have been very receptive. There's lots of hugs and things like that. One thing that was moving for me yesterday was the roll call, which I had never, experienced before. And then hearing them call the names of the deceased and, call them 3 times. And then that pause for them, it was very moving for me in that moment. So I was glad to be able to witness that.
And of course, I remember when your dad was memorialized by the general board after he died as the president of the Connectional Council. And that is the custom, because in the interim of the general conference, the general board is where we memorialize supervisors, bishops, members, and again, we will do this there will be then at general conference, they'll be recognized again, because all the people here on the general board were members of the general conference. So they will be finally memorialized at the general conference. And it is, it's moving. Years ago, we used to do a memorial. And I think we've now shifted to basically the roll call is when we, hear them and remember them. So yeah, that was definitely moving. And honestly, I'm gonna keep it real. This is the first time in a while the General Secretary actually intentionally called the name 3 times.
Really?
So this is why you heard people saying deceased, but she took it as, no, this is the time when we will do that time. So she called, as we call an annual conference, which is call the name 3 times. And then and you probably heard like by the middle, people caught on like, oh, that's how we doing this.
Yes. So by the last person, he waited until she said the name 3 times and then said deceased.
Yeah. So the general board is composed of the commissions that govern the various departments and agencies of the church. So what meetings did you pop into?
So I went to the Women in Ministry, obviously because I am a woman in ministry. So just to kind of hear about that, one of the things that struck me there is they are wondering, because they are counting how many women we have in ministry, how many women are pastoring, and what does that look like in terms of the general church? Like, how many men are there? And so they talked about trying to get those statistics, because I don't remember the number exactly, but it was over 1,000 women are, in ministry and active in ministry and things. And so it would be interesting to see what that shift is actually looking like in our church right now as it pertains to women in ministry and women in the pastorate. So that's the first one I went to. And then I also went to the church growth and development.
Really? Okay.
And it was dynamic. Bishop Crawford talked about, well, one of the concerns I think that has plagued the connection is we talk about church planting and church growth, but the truth of the matter is there are churches that need to be closed. One of the things that I thought about is, if you think about plants and you talk about polyculture, right? Sometimes the plants need something else that can help to sustain them in order to grow and thrive in the best environment. And so if we take two churches that maybe one is good here, one is good here, put them together, maybe they can thrive and then kind of get to some of that church growth that we're actually talking about, instead of just saying, oh, we need to plant a church here, plant a church here, and not really doing anything about the current problem. So there was a huge discussion around that. Bishop Crawford had some amazing ideas, and I really enjoyed being in that session.
Yeah, that's right. And what other sessions did you go to?
Those were the two commission meetings.
So you didn't pop in the commission from your old organization to see what the YPD, the WMS are doing?
I did not, because I think it was the same time as another one that I was.
And that's one of the issues at General Board.
Yes.
I remember when I was a member,
and
we did our best to keep persons from being on the same commission. And that's one of the problems of the General Board. You could be assigned to commissions that meet at the same time. And
absolutely.
And then, but that's a whole other discussion for another time about how the church is governed
well,
at
there's
this
just
level.
only so many days, right? So we're really only here. You had 2 full days? And so, and that was the other thing for me that I thought about in terms of looking at the agenda. I was like, so this is a general board meeting. They're going to talk about all of these things.
In 2 days.
How do you get that to happen in 2 days?
And one of the things we've seen, unfortunately, especially with the incident with retirement services, is that the board has to meet, and some of the commissions have now learned we can use Zoom to meet.
Yes.
And only do our work and do certain things at the board in person, but we can use Zoom to meet. And we are encouraging commissions now to be like, y'all can meet on Zoom, because this meeting should be like, the meeting to hear publicly, but this should not be the first time that you engage with your commission members.
Well, I have a question about that.
Sure.
So I do know during the roll call, persons from districts 14 through 20 were on Zoom and could be a part of the roll.
Yes.
But I didn't see any Zoom in the commission meetings.
There was Zoom in the commission meetings.
Okay.
The laptops were set up on a table.
Okay.
And they were Zoomed in. So every commission meeting had a standard desk.
Okay.
And basically the persons would just stay in that, would be rotated from room to room based upon what commission they were on.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't hear them speak or anything like that.
And
they were on.
That's
good. That's good to know, though.
They were on, and that is something that we're still working that tweak out. But this general secretary, she has been committed to making sure, building off of what we experienced in the 2021 General Conference.
Yes.
She's like, we need to take that lesson and learn about what we need to do now.
Absolutely.
So she is built on what we've doing and trying pull it in the whole General Board.
Okay, nice.
So one of the other signature events of the General Board, because this is General Board, and the investiture of the Council of Bishops. So every General Board meeting, except for the one preceding the General Conference, because that one is the one for the budget. But so we only consider the budget that meeting. We normally have the investiture. And the president of the Council of Bishops has a 1-year term that starts from June 15th to June 15th.
Oh.
And so this year's president is Marvin Sanders. So what did you think of the investiture celebration?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I thought the worship was high. The choir was amazing. I heard somebody say 200 voice choir, which I think is awesome. Just to, one of the things you think about when people talk about the church being dead and stuff like that. But they got 200 people to come here and be a part of the choir. That's not a dead church. So I think that's pretty amazing. I really enjoyed with Brian Courtney Wilson. I don't know if you know this. We talked about my dad, but every Sunday he did a pastor's word as a part of our order of worship, and he sang "Oh, It Is Jesus" every Sunday. Yeah. And so to hear "Oh, It Is Jesus" yesterday during the service was like a full circle moment for me, because I'm like, okay, Daddy, like you see that I'm here, at the general board, continuing the Tyson legacy, and so that was pretty awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and speaking of the Tyson legacy, you're just not here by yourself. Who else is here with you?
I am not here by myself. So my son is here, Declan. He is 6, going on 7, 6, 7.
Oh, Lord.
He'll be 7 in July.
Okay.
And so obviously this is his first general board too. And he was here with me all day yesterday. Also my aunt, Reverend Margaret Tyson, is here. She pastors in the 13th district. She'll be retiring soon.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So she retires at the next annual conference.
Okay.
So this is kind of her last hurrah as, in active ministry. My grandmother, who is 88 years old. I don't think she have a problem with me sharing, because when you see her walking up and down,
you don't think she 88.
And she is in her right mind and speaking to everybody and knowing what's going on, and like, oh, is that so-and-so, that's so-and-so. She's a member of St. Mark here in Orlando. Okay. So she came out last night to support her pastor bishop, because Bishop Zanders is
holding the church, because that pastor has moved to Reed Temple.
Absolutely.
And so we are anxiously awaiting, Bishop Zanders, if you're watching this, and if it didn't happen yet, we are waiting to hear who the new pastor at St. Mark is. So, that's going to be breaking news. We'll be here at Bishop. So, give us some news soon.
Well, yes. I can tell you that St. Mark is fasting on Wednesdays, and fasting and in prayer for their pastor. So my grandmother was like, oh, it's Wednesday. So we're today, fasting and praying for their new pastor. Good. So that's what they're doing as a church family. So she came out, and then my mom will be here later on in the week as we prepare for the Christian Education Congress. So we're here.
Y'all are here.
We are in the building.
Y'all are in the building. The Tysons are in the building.
Yes, it looks a little different than it did back in the day, but we're here.
And that's wonderful. And I don't know, one of the things, this is a personal thing that I know I will use this word, that you struggled with, is how to pick up and live up to that mantle, because your great grandfather, your grandfather, your father. I mean everything from general officers to connectional officers have been in your family line. I know when we talked, when I was living in Chicago for a while, there was a question like, what are you going to do in the church? So how have you come to understand your calling and where you are right now personally? Yeah,
I think trying to create my own path has been the biggest thing for me. I am so grateful and in awe of the things that my family has accomplished. As you know, my great-grandfather was the editor of the Christian Reporter. And just, seeing my family throughout the generations and things. But my path is different. Yes. I want to be true to my calling. I want to be true to what God has said to me, what I've heard from God in terms of what I should be doing in life and in ministry. And I feel like I've been able to do that. My Bishop Ronnie Elijah Brailsford in the 10th Episcopal District has been super supportive of placing me in spaces that allows me to do ministry differently. And so I like that. My pastor, Reverend Dr. Shallis Bradford, one of the things, anybody that hears me talk in the district, I talk about how I appreciate her yes. If I say, hey, I want to do this. She's like, let's see how we can make this work. And so that's the thing for me. It's just, I'm not focused on, I don't have the same aspirations, which I think allows me to operate differently than some people within the church. I think when you have aspirations in the church, you feel like you have to fit into this box. And then that changes how you present yourself. And one of the things for me is I want to be authentic in how I present myself in every space, every interaction, every relationship. And so that's kind of what I focus on.
Good. And I think that's a message for those of you who are watching, who are wondering, does the church have a place for me? Or you might be, a PK, or you might just be someone whose parents have gone to church for years. You're trying to figure out, okay, what do I do with all this? They expect me to do this. Anjanette Reverend Anjanette. And I say reverend because there was a time when we didn't know if you were like, but you figured out what worked for you. And so
Yes.
so that the message here today is that you figure out what works for you and live in that and walk in that. Wow.
Absolutely. 100%.
So let me ask this. Did you get over to Disney World or Universal Studios yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if we're going to do that this go round. As I indicated, my grandmother lives here, so we come pretty often
so then y'all
to try to
come
check
down
in
here.
on her. So we'll do some fun things.
Okay, because you can't have Declan at the meeting.
You
and
cannot
at least
bring him.
do something. Do something.
We passed on the way over here this morning Andretti's. Are you familiar with this? Like an indoor race car and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe we'll do Andretti's at some point.
Good.
Just something fun.
Well, Anjanette, thank you for taking the time to sit with us. And again, your family has meant a lot to me. All of y'all took really great care of me in Chicago, and y'all I consider y'all part of my family.
Absolutely.
So, but more importantly, you are part of this great connectional family of the AME Church. And the Tyson name, it is good to see the Tyson name is in a good place. So any final words for those who are watching, who have been looking at your family for years and, just want to hear a word from what y'all doing?
Sure. I guess just final words. We're excited about Jesus. And so whatever we're doing, we're trying to do it to honor him. And so if you do that, I think that everything else will just kind of come into place. It is a blessing to have 4 generations of my family be able to be here in this space, in this meeting at this time. From my son to my grandmother, who is his great grandmother. So I'm blessed. The church has given us everything. Like we grew up in the church, all of us, across several districts. My mom in the 2nd grew up going to Bethel, Baltimore.
Wow.
My dad grew up in the 1st Episcopal District. I went to school in the 3rd. I grew up in the 4th. I'm living in the 10th. So we have truly realized this connectional church, and it's been a blessing, and I'm grateful for it. And for any persons, just a shameless plug for the RAYAC, the 10th Episcopal District is hosting the Next 30 conference in Houston this summer. So if you have not registered already, please register now. Consider coming, meeting us in Houston. We will be so happy to have you there, and we're looking forward to that event.
And you've seen the emails go out from the General Secretary of the Christian Recorder. So come on to Houston and enjoy our association for the 21 to 45s.
That's right.
That group. So thank you, Anjanette. I'm sure some of the
Absolutely.
people watching are going to join you in Houston. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we'll see you again on another Christian Recorder Dialogues. Thank you for watching us and enjoying this time we have at the General Board.